Now, this is the biggest deal I've personally seen in esports, I think ever, because this has to be one of the funniest LCS games I have ever watched. I'm even getting hyped talking about it. A lot of people have been asking me recently why I stopped playing as much League and why I've been resorting to gambling recently. If you don't know already, I'm gonna tell you right now. Welcome back to another episode of Run It Down. As the LCS is kicked back off this weekend, there is so much news to get into, so we're gonna kick it off with the League news and let's get right into it. Let's start with the biggest news of the week. Now, this is just an insane change that I would never expect in a million years. TSM is rebranding. They changed their name from Team Solo Mid to Team Solo Mid FTX. Now, if you don't know what FTX is, it is a crypto exchange that isn't widely accessible in the US, but it is a global brand and hey, they have money. They're paying TSM $210 million for 10 years to change their name. Now, this is the biggest deal I've personally seen in esports, I think ever. The most absurd part of this deal to me is that FTX doesn't even get the name branding and any Riot Games esports. But on social media, it's TSM FTX. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is a great deal for TSM. Reggie and Lena, they definitely did a great job here, and they're eating good. Finally! Man, I'm so bored of watching Tyler play Cho'Gath and just sitting there AFK farming, slouched in his chair. Finally, Tyler won his hit challenger. This is deserved. This man has been grinding. All I'm saying is I would have probably got there quicker if I did the top lane to challenger, although I don't have the mental strength to play over 1,000 games a season, so maybe I would have ended in Masters and quit the challenge as I usually do. But I want to say congrats to Tyler. It is not easy to grind as many games as he does. I'm excited to see what's next from him. He said it is most likely going to be the mid lane challenge. I predict it's going to take him a little longer than top lane because I think top lane's an easy roll. All power to him. Let's see what he does with it. Patch 11.12 is out, and the most exciting thing about this patch is the new Mundo Rework. Now, the Mundo Rework isn't the biggest and craziest change, but I think it is pretty subtle, and I think it is pretty nice as well. So the biggest changes out of the Mundo Rework is his passive. Now, when Mundo gets CC'd or any type of immobilizing effect hits him, it actually just doesn't really do anything, and then a coin kind of drops. The same way a Poppy passive, when she throws something at someone, drops a coin that she can pick up for a shield, he actually picks up for health now. Now, the Q, pretty much the same thing, throws a cleaver. W, now he just has like an electric shock on him. He just walks around, instead of it being fire on his body, kind of just electricity everywhere, burning minions, so that's his new wave clear. Now for Mundo's E, he throws a medical bag that deals damage, but if it kills the target, like kills the minion, it continues to go through that target and passes everyone else through it and deals damage to everyone that is affected. Now, Mundo's ultimate. Now I think this is the best part of the rework. Now when you ulti as Mundo, it doesn't take any health from you, you only start to gain HP regeneration. So I think this is a really nice change to Mundo. It's probably gonna make him feel a lot better to play, and I think a lot of Mundo mains are gonna be happy. Well, that was the most prominent news in the league right now. Without further ado, let's get right into the show. Welcome back to Getting Fed, delivered by Grubhub. Now, there's a lot of things and key moments that I really want to highlight, so I'm going to give myself 60 seconds to talk about my favorite moments from this past week of the LCS. Now let's talk about who's doing the feeding. As always, we got CLG and GGS. Now listen, it's not too fair to say because they did start the league off in last place, 10th and 9th, because the split carries over from the spring split. CLG is looking really poor right now. It doesn't feel like they have much of a team identity. GGS looks like they're slowly picking it up. Solo is looking pretty decent in the top lane, you know, definitely an improvement over Niles in the past. Now, I don't want to just talk about the teams at the bottom of the standing. I want to talk about the most recent EG versus FlyQuest game because this has to be one of the funniest LCS games I have ever watched. I'm even getting hyped talking about it. It was literally the most ping-pong-like game of throws you could ever see. One team, one throw, one team, one throw. That is how it worked. But the craziest part is they had to go to an Infernal Soul on FlyQuest's end. EG got Elder, and EG was trying to push in to end the game with the Elder buff. Now they killed off the inhibs, they were on the Nexus Towers, it was a pure 5v5. Nexus Towers were about to die, but instead of just finishing it off the Nexus Towers and finishing the Nexus and winning the game, they push the Nexus, throw the game, Nexus has half HP on it, and they reverse end the game. FlyQuest beat EG, and just the look of disappointment on all the EG's players' faces. Now it didn't bring me joy, it honestly made me a little upset because of how sad they were, but I was laughing my ass off the whole time. It was hilarious, and I honestly just can't believe it. I think NA kind of needs to step it up, but at the same time, if we have performances like that every day, I'll be happy watching the LCS. Now, before we get into who's getting fed in the league, let's give a special shout out to our sponsor, Grubhub. You know who's getting you fed? Grubhub's getting you fed. Grubhub connects diners with the restaurants they love. Restaurants are the heart and soul of our communities, and Grubhub takes pride in being the connector between you and your local favorites. Grubhub is always striving to provide the best at-home dining and make mealtimes more rewarding with perks, giving you deals and promotions on your favorite local restaurants. Download the Grubhub app to order from your favorite local restaurants today. Now let's talk about who's getting fed this week. I want to give a shout out to Swordart. I think he's had an amazing performance on the rel that he's been playing quite often. We already know he's a great support player, but the use of the rel along with Huni's Nocturne to use the vision denial to give Swordart better positioning, honestly, TSM FTX looks really good, and I'm excited to see them play more. Finally, we can talk about 100 Thieves getting fed. I'm so excited to see this team go 2-1. We did predict that they were gonna go 2-1. I talked to the staff and the players. They were like, 2-1 would be good, 3-0 would be great. They did get the 2-1. It wasn't the way we expected. We expected to beat the other two teams that we were facing, but we did not expect to beat C9 as easily as we did. It was a complete stomp of Cloud9. Perkz ended the game 0-7-0. I don't think he's ever ended any game like that. Hey, if he keeps up this performance next week, might have to do a who's feeding, and it's gonna be on Perkz. So, Perkz hopefully steps it up, but either way, it's great to see 100 Thieves up in the mix in the getting fed section. It's great to see 100 Thieves get a few wins for themselves. One more team I wanted to talk about doing well this week is Immortals. Now, I want to say their solo inners Insanity and Revenge have been definitely putting up a good performance. Revenge on the set has looked great. His laning phase is looking good, but in specifically Xerxes. Xerxes is a clean jungler. He's looking great, and he's honestly one of the best rumbles I've seen. You know, his heat management and his ultimates just look great, and I'm excited to see this team continue to perform for the rest of the season. Now, hold your horses. Don't get a little too excited. This is still the first week of the LCS, so we need to see how the rest of the team's shaping up. Just because 100 Thieves won 2 games doesn't mean that they're gonna win 2 games next week. Maybe they'll win 3, maybe they'll win 0. Who knows? The teams are still shaping up. Cloud9, even though they've lost a few of their games at the first week, probably not the worst team in the LCS, so, you know, give some teams time to adjust. There are a lot of roster swaps also happening, so we're gonna have to see how the rest of the league shapes out, but either way, it's a great look from 100 Thieves. Well, that concludes Getting Fed delivered by Grubhub. Let me know in the comments who you think is gonna surpass your expectations next week. And also, you guys like my jersey? A lot of people have been asking me recently why I stopped playing as much League and why I've been resorting to gambling recently. And it's a very clear and very obvious answer. And if you don't know already, I'm gonna tell you right now. Now, we've talked about a lot of roles in League. We've talked about support being OP. We've talked about jungle being OP, ADC being OP. Never talked about top lane because no one cares about that role. But it's finally time to talk about my role, mid lane. So in case you don't know, mid lane is by far the most popular role in League of Legends, and it's been that way for years. I'm not surprised. Mid lane kind of just plays everything, from the Bruisers top lane, to like the Wukongs, to the Camille's that can play mid lane, to the junglers that can play mid lane. Now you got Lee Sin and stuff. You could just do anything mid lane. And now not only that, it's literally the center point of the entire map. Mid lane kind of just impacts everything, because it gives you the easiest roam to top, gives you the easiest roam to bot, gives you the easiest playmaking with your jungler. That's the reason mid lane's the most important, and that's kind of one of the reasons it's really sad to see mid lane in the state that it is in. I think this is probably one of the worst states mid lane's ever been at. It genuinely feels like you don't really dictate the game. Now, that's unfair to say because no one role should dictate the game, but let's be honest, mid lane historically has been able to dictate a large part of the game with jungle. But this season, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like as a mid laner, you're just shoving wave after wave, either waiting to be ganked or waiting for a gank, and nothing really happens. Even when you get a kill, it doesn't feel like you can do much with it. It feels like support and jungle have to come and roam into your lane, whether it's your teammate or the enemy teammate, for something to actually happen. You end up shoving your wave and moving out of your lane to go roam. Hey, you might get caught up by the jungle and support roaming at you. It genuinely feels like mid lane is probably the weakest position it's been in a while. Doesn't feel like you get a much larger XP margin or XP lead on anyone by power farming. You have to consistently steal raptor camps if you want to get ahead, which feels really bad for your jungler. And then you end up in the position where you have to side lane because bot lane tower died and your bot lane wants to go get mid lane tower. Then you just go in side lane, you end up getting caught 1v2. Genuinely feels terrible to play mid lane. It doesn't feel that good. And not even just mid lane. Hey, I'm gonna bring this up now. Yasuo, this is probably the worst position he's been in. Now, I'm not here to complain about Yasuo. They didn't even tell me to say this. I'm saying it right now, though. Yasuo is in the worst spot he's been in since I started playing him 6 years ago. It's completely fine because Yasuo's been broken or good for so long that I genuinely can't complain. But I definitely think I should bring it up because mid lane being bad, Yasuo being bad, gambling is good. No, don't take it out of context. Gambling sucks. Put that in the video. I would love to see Riot buff mid lane in certain ways. Maybe one of the things they could do is honestly give it a little bit more XP. You are the center point of the map. You do get ganked the most, whether it's from jungle, top, support, ADC, roaming into your lane. Maybe a little more XP would be nice. Either that or honestly just nerfing the other roles to where they can't leave their lane as much. Honestly, if support got nerfed a little bit and punished a little bit for leaving lane, that'd be super nice for mid laners to not deal with because historically we've already had to deal with junglers consistently ganking us. Now having junglers and supports, honestly, it's a little too much for me. Well, those are my thoughts on mid lane. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments on if you think the role is good or bad, because honestly, you might have a better idea than me because, hey, I've been gambling for the past few weeks. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Run It Down. Honestly, had a blast talking about all these awesome topics. Please, if you have anything you want me to discuss next week, please let me know in the comments. Also, drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed and you want to see more of this. Please let us know in the comments. We love all the feedback. And take care. Enjoy the rest of your weeks.